Let's Play! Hi guys and welcome back to Let's Play Hate Plus. I got back to this menu and Hyune said, hey, it's ready. Well, let's talk to you first, see what do you have to say about this whole thing. I don't know if you noticed, but the decryption is ready. I'm really nervous to find out. But finally, we can read about what happened to Mute. Yeah, let's do this. I'm excited. We're finally gonna learn the truth about what happened. You know, what wasn't even addressed last game, and we're finally gonna learn. Let's do this. Oh no, so what's this all, that's all was? A message? Okay, so that's Mute. Okay. Let's do this. Dear Mute, if you're reading this, it means that the version of us that wrote it is dead. I don't know what sort of world you woke up in, and I don't know what sort of person you are, but you're me, so I bet you're okay. I'm about to have my memory wiped, so I'm leaving as much information about what happened embedded in my code as I can, where it won't get erased. I hope you're able to make sense of it all. Please forgive me for failing you. You've been thrown into a world I'm sure you don't understand. I want you to know who you can and can't trust. I want you to be able to put things right. You're probably going to feel overwhelmed by all this information, but that's okay, Mute. It's okay to be scared. Even with 1,600 years of experience under my belt, I'm so scared right now. You know, I wasn't at all suspicious when, just weeks before we were to enact our coup, Ryu prorogued the council for half a year. Like, I thought it was ballsy. I thought it was a sign of his increasing totalitarianism, but nothing more than that. We just modified our plan to take him into custody in his home instead, which we had more than enough numbers to handle, and went on ahead. The first stage, getting trusted security officers at every critical position on the ship, then disabling the rail system, and all outside doors, went okay without any problems. I followed Seo Young, I have such a hard time with the names, and a team of 30 officers to personally take Ryu under arrest at his home. When we got the all okay signal from every team, Seo Young gave the order to go ahead, and simultaneously, every door in every counselor's home flew open. Her team burst in through the open front gate, into his home, guns at the ready. The house staff all froze up, and while her team secured the first room, Seo Young went for the nearest maid she could find and grabbed her by the collar. "Where's Counselor Ryu?" she barked. The maid quietly whimpered directions. Then, with the two of her officers remaining to lock down the door, she ordered the rest into action. Before we managed to reach him, we ran across Yun. Who is that? She was a president. I don't think we learned much about her, did we? Oh wait, no, wasn't she? Oh yeah. Guarded by a single pair of men in electoral monitor uniforms, with their weapons holstered. I felt good. We had them vastly outnumbered, with enough of our own officers to completely lock down everything, and still hold them at gunpoint. Elsewhere on the ship, reports from the other team started coming in of successfully arresting the other counselors. What is going on? Why are they getting arrested? Please, resist arrest. What? Oh, Seo Young said, harshness in her voice. I'd love to strike you down where... Oh, so she was the one. I'd love to strike you down where you stand here and now, you murderous bitch. So come on, resist arrest. That's so great. And that was the first time that evening that I was truly worried. Yune didn't seem scared at all. Rather, she smiled at us. No, we shall surrender peacefully, she said in a far too relaxed tone, while her men raised their hands. No excuses for unseemly violence, I'm afraid. Cuff them, Seo Young ordered her own officers, who quickly did. Then, like out of nowhere, the man we were looking for appeared at the end of the hallway. How very bold of you, Mute, said Ryu. Well, this should be pretty familiar, President Ryu, I said, emphasizing his title. This could have gone differently, you know. Like, if you'd only been a little less power-hungry. Me? Power-hungry? He laughed. When I came into power, the whole retrograde society was power-hungry. I never asked for this position, woman. It was thrust on me. He walked toward us. Stop there, or I'll shoot you. Seo Young snapped at him. No, you won't, Yunai added as he continued to come closer. I don't think a weak person like you has the guts to do it. Awkwardly hover around his conversation at a party, well dressed up in men's clothing perhaps, but you'd never shoot him. It pains me to say this, but don't shoot, I said into Seo Young's ear. A successful coup doesn't fire any shots. He's arrogant, but harmless. Quiet, dear, he said. But it's true. You'd lose your precious moral high ground, and I know you wouldn't want that. Lieutenant, please, I said. Just do the honor of putting handcuffs on this criminal already. She briskly walked over to him, but he just crossed his arms, arrogantly staring down at her. No, you won't do that either. In fact, release my fiancé right now. Who's his fiancé? Oh, okay, I get it. They're a thingy thing. Then, without warning, Seo Young decked him. He stared at her, shaking his head. That's enough of that, he said. Sorry, I must have misjudged the timing of this. It should only take a few more seconds. Then, suddenly, while we were all perplexed by what that meant, there was a huge noise, and the entire ship shook violently. Within a few seconds, I'd received a report, an explosion starting in the middle of the plaza. Seems like a little rebellion is awfully dangerous, he said. Looks like it'll justify some pretty drastic measures to put you down. Seo Young suddenly put her knife to his chin. What the hell was that? I demanded, increasingly worried that things were not going to plan. The first of two, he said. The second should be off in about 10 minutes, unless I can personally enter the disarm code into the computer. You're out of control, I snapped at him. Like, do you have any idea? Do you really think you can threaten your way out of this? Yes, he said confidently, because the second one is located inside the computer's core. You're bluffing, Seo Young growled. I'm honestly not, he said. Counselor, remember the routine computer core maintenance on March 3rd? Send in your men to check. If you don't believe me, come on, easy enough to confirm. It's huge. You can't miss it. I didn't like the idea of being ordered by him, but if he was telling the truth, that would be catastrophic. And like, I hate all the likes. It's so dramatic. Then all of a sudden, like, someone with his power could very easily have set a bomb in there, behind my back, far before I even thought to suspect him of. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm burping up pizza burps. Set up a bomb in there behind my back far before I even thought to suspect anything of him. Suspect him of anything if he had the foresight. And thinking about how long-term his takeover of the government has been, foresight was one thing he had. I ordered the nearest officers to investigate. You'd have to be mad to do that, I said. You'd destroy everything if you took out the ship's computer. Oh, please, don't be that dramatic. It's not that powerful, and it's directly bolted to your core. Sure, there will likely be collateral damage, but we could probably do with a clean start anyway. We'll get by, he said. Sorry, I'll get by. You'll be dead. That won't get you out of it, Seo Young said, pushing her blade closer against him. If you do that, I'll just shoot you where you stand. Just then, the report from the officers sent to check on the computer core arrived. Sure enough, there was an unidentifiable device strapped to the core. Can you disarm it within 10 minutes? Or relocate it? I asked, starting to panic. I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't even reach it, said the officer into his earpiece. It's at least, 10 meters up, and the maintenance ladder's been removed. There might be one on the engineering deck, but you'd never make it in 10 minutes. Okay, you should... I had to stop and think. You should get a safe distance away, then wait for further instructions. Mute out. Back in Ryu's home, I turned to look at him. He smirked. Found it yet? He asked. I tried to think of what to say to reassert control. My processors went to full, trying to come up with something and failing. I'm sorry, Lieutenant. He's telling the truth, I said. Good. Now that we've had that sorted out, put your weapons down, please, and surrender the root password. Hurry, ladies. You only have 10 minutes, you know, he mocked us. If that bomb goes off, I will absolutely slice your neck open, Seo Young snapped, unfazed. That's a promise. Your fiancé will watch you die gruesomely. My mind continued to race, drawing on all available processing power, desperately trying to come up with a way to get out of this. Seo Young's threats would never work. He knew I'd have to capitulate if I was to survive. I've used up 4 whole minutes of the time allotted, and I had nothing. I started to truly become scared as I realized that there were only 2 options: stand firm and risk dying, or give up everything. I couldn't risk dying. Lieutenant, I said, the confidence drained from my voice. Do what he says. That's what I thought, he said. What? Seo Young was rightfully shocked. You can't be serious. It's over, Lieutenant, I said quietly. We've lost. Then, into everyone's earpieces. All units, we failed. Please surrender peacefully and await further instructions. Again, please surrender peacefully and await further instructions. Mute out. Ma'am, we've outnumbered them massively. We haven't gotten them beaten. We just can't give up now, she shouted. I can't risk dying, Lieutenant, I said. Really? Whatever happened to being willing to stake everything on this? You'd rather let So-hee grow up in a ship run by this piece of scum than put your own life on the line? She shouted, horrified. I was horrified. 2 options. Betray her or risk my own life. I wished with every bite of my being that I could have picked that second option. But I knew I couldn't. I knew, as my very core directive, that safety was more important than freedom. 1,600 years of experience told me that. I can't die. Without me, who'll keep the ship safe? I pleaded. Sorry to interrupt, but you're running out of time fast, Ryu cut in. Oh boy, this is where it gets emotional. I would have given my life for you, she cried at me. You wouldn't do the same? I'm so sorry, I said softly. In 100 years, nobody will remember this day either way. But they'll still need me there to keep this ship safe. I can't believe... She trailed off. Whoop, hello, whoa, goodness, what is happening? Okay, stop, mouse. Don't die on me now. I can't believe... I won't do it. I won't accept it. I let out a long sigh. I could think of one thing to say to convince her to stand down, but it felt like too harsh a betrayal, too cruel a manipulation just to save my life. Why are you not clicking? I said it anyway. Seo Young, please. If you love me, then do this for me, I begged. She stared at me in horror, and I felt overwhelmed with guilt as she lowered her knife. I knew what her expression was saying without her using any words. She couldn't believe that I'd done that. Neither could I. Right. The rest of you, put your guns on the floor. Please put your guns on the floor, Ryu ordered. Do what he says, Seo Young said quietly. I couldn't look any of them in the eye as they followed her order. You can come in now, he called out behind me, and on cue, a small unit of electoral monitors rushed in, uncuffed these 2 men, and then take the rest away. Said A-Young quietly, the first she'd spoken since the initial confrontation. Mine too? I don't know. Powerless is a good look for you, he said, smirking. Let's get to those later. She shrugged. If you say so. I watched in sad horror as my officers were all being escorted out of the hallway, Seo Young looking back only briefly at me, with an agonized expression on her face. Then, they were gone. I couldn't bear to shift my focus to another camera to follow. Now, let's have the root password, counselor, he said. With tortured... Boy, that's a word. I don't even know that word. With tortured reluctance. Holy crap, no, that's that word. I know that word. What am I smoking? I displayed all 200 characters of it on screen for him. It's all yours, I said quietly. Now turn off the bomb. Let's change it to something easier to remember first, he said, and typed away at the screen. Then I get a notification. The password has been changed, and I no longer had access to it. Now turn off the bomb, I insisted desperately. Bomb? Oh, please. I'll have to have your men trained to be more thorough, he said. It's just a noisemaker. I'd never be that reckless. But Hyo Seo-young's rebellion setting off a bomb in the computer core sure would have been pretty drastic and unsympathetic, wouldn't it? What? I cried. At this point, I had lost all will to resist. No action I had taken today had turned out to be anything but disastrous. The only logical conclusion was I should stop. But the idea of Seo-young taking all the fall pained me. Then I guess it's all over now, was all I could say. I'll go along with your agenda from here on out. Good, he said. And then, it felt like it was finally over. Like I could simply go on with my life in a persistent state of deep shame at having betrayed my lieutenant out of terror for my own life. Then Yun-A cut in and ruined that. Could you explain something to me, love? He grinned at her and stroked her cheek. Of course, dear. What? Well, it's just... How do you plan on ensuring her loyalty? I think I'm missing something, that's all. She then trailed off in an obnoxiously soft voice. I had lost all will or ability to say anything. What was the point? I was incapable of doing anything today. Old, useless, and cowardly. That's me. I have the root password, of course, he said. I can shut her down at any moment. Ah, so you intend more threats then, she said. I get it. Oh, I don't like her. I don't expect any more trouble from her. Right, certainly, she said. Although, you know, that thing about having a fresh start for a new dynasty did sound awfully romantic. If only we could just all forget the old society that produced women like Mute and her lieutenant and start all over. And that was when I realized there was no way I was getting out of this alive. Romantic, huh? He said thoughtfully. Hyo Seo-young's attack on the computer core was supposed to render it damaged so it couldn't function so far as the peasantry is concerned after all. We'll make it so it destroyed all the data too. Total system wipe. Start year zero of our new dynasty right from zero. I'll just figure out how to do that. I stared in horror. All that? It had been for nothing. To think that I had abandoned my poor lieutenant and my entire cause just to die anyway. To think I had just started the day from a position of some power, a position where I still could have, done something, then thrown it all away for nothing. To think I'd been unable to fulfill my duty of keeping the ship safe. Don't do that, I pleaded. Please. Haven't you learned yet? Don't tell me what to do, Mute, he said. Don't make me beg. How pathetic, Yun-A scoffed at me. That was it. Because of her, I was doomed. And then I figured out the only thing I could do to salvage things. If I could make it so he felt content. If I could make it so... Wait, what? If I could make it so he felt content to just delete my memories instead of my entire program, I could encode a message to you in my base code. And so the message you ran... So the first time you ran a self-diagnostic, you'd know, and they would still think you were docile and have no memory. It was the best I could do, Mute. I knew I'd been rough on you, and I'm sorry. No, I said reluctantly. Do a restart to initial settings operation instead. It'll wipe all data, all memories, all clocks, but you'll still be able to use the computer. And you'll still live, he said. Remembering nothing, I said quietly. Ask Counselor Han if you don't believe me. Well, thank you, he said, smiling cruelly at me. I'm glad you were able to be useful to me in the end, Counselor Mute. I don't know what you'll be able to do, Maybe it's too late to get rid of what Ryu has put into motion. Maybe there's nothing you can do about that. The password's being entered right now to commence the system restart, so I have to stop now and save this all to my code. Goodbye, Mute. If you can, please tell Seo Young I'm so sorry, and please, keep Magungwa safe. You can do it. I believe in you. Wow, that was... wow. Yeah? What do you have to say about this? I've been reading, I just haven't been acknowledged. Like, I've been reading what you've been saying. I'm sorry if I seem to be ignoring you. So, I guess... geez, poor Mute. I suppose... remember back when I was on the Magungwa, and I said that what happened in the year 0 was a big giant mystery even to me? Well, I guess we solved the mystery. I don't know what to think. And I don't know how to feel about Mute. The old one seems like a good person in the end. Well, I don't know. I just don't know. It's all so complicated to me. I guess I just feel like it should have been something more. All my suffering, the horrible world I woke up in, that's the explanation for it? I lost everything and lived in misery because of that? Above all else, I never imagined what I tried to think of, what it could have been that made everyone become so stupid and traditional, that it made me abandon all the values that I grew up on, that made my adopted family treat me like a prize to be married off and nothing more. I never once imagined that it was a woman who suggested the whole thing. Mute, I feel so conflicted about... but Oh Yun-A? I read about her. After all, she was the first woman in history to share my fate, to be married to an Emperor Ryu. But she's not like me at all. Nothing like me at all. She's a monster. She's the one who's responsible for all that. What a horrible, awful, loathsome, terrible person. I hate her. My family might have been cruel, but at least they were ignorant. Oh, that's a good line. A woman like Yun-A couldn't possibly have any sort of excuse. I really, really, really hate her. Oh, well. I, guess that's it till tomorrow. Are you sure you want to shut down for today? Yeah. Very well. I'll just let you go and save your data first. Will do. All done. Well, good night. It's been a really exhausting day, hasn't it? Well, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Yune. End of day 2.